Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive, real-world challenge inspired by the work of Ajmal Elahi and other leading scholars. We are going to look at how you actually evaluate a giant national education program in Pakistan. And we're going to see exactly how top-tier researchers solve this complex puzzle by combining the sheer scale of quantitative data with the deep reality of qualitative human stories. So think about this for a second. You've got this huge, nationwide initiative. You're sitting on a literal mountain of data. But, data alone doesn't always cut it. If you pick the wrong research method, even perfectly accurate data can totally mislead you about what's actually happening on the ground. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll hit the social research puzzle, jump into quantitative breadth, followed by qualitative depth, the mixed methods solution, and finally, navigating field realities. Starting off with Section 1, the social research puzzle, and why your methods matter. It really comes down to this. Every single credible piece of research stands or falls on one critical choice, which is the method you use to gather your facts. It's kind of like a building's foundation. If your foundational method is cracked, the whole study comes crashing down. So if you want your findings to have real validity, credibility, and replicability, matching the right method to your specific question is absolutely everything. Moving right along to Section 2, quantitative breadth and measuring scale. If you're trying to prove something on a national level, if you really need to know how many or how much, you're going to reach for the quantitative toolkit. This is all about measuring variables numerically to describe, compare, or test relationships. It relies heavily on deductive reasoning. Basically, that means you start with a set theory and you test it using hard numbers and statistics. In the real world, this looks like running a massive household survey or maybe a randomized controlled trial, an RCT. Let's say across Pakistan, this kind of survey can efficiently show us exactly how many girls dropped out of school across different districts. It gives you undeniable reach, and you can confidently generalize those results to the whole population because you've got a large representative sample. But here's the catch, and it's a huge one. Numbers give us the scale, for sure, but they don't tell us why. An RCT gives you incredible breadth, but it completely misses the depth and context of the human experience. It tells you that school enrollment dropped in a specific district, but it absolutely cannot tell you what those families are actually going through. And that brings us to Section 3, qualitative depth, finding meaning. To answer that all-important why, we shift gears entirely. Qualitative research is about exploring meaning, experience, and context. We're talking words, observations, and human interaction. And instead of testing a theory deductively, it uses inductive reasoning, meaning you build the theory from the ground up by observing real behavior and just talking to people to understand what a situation feels like from the inside out. To capture this human story, researchers use some highly specialized tools. We're talking in-depth interviews, key informant interviews with local experts, and full-on ethnography. Just picture this. Female researchers conducting focus group discussions inside private village courtyards in Pakistan. That is exactly how you uncover the deeply rooted cultural barriers to girls' education that a standardized survey wouldn't even know to ask about. So these two families contrast perfectly. On one side, quantitative gives you breadth, massive samples, and theory testing with numbers, but it totally lacks context. On the flip side, qualitative gives you deep, thematic, rich insights with small, very specific samples, but it's super hard to generalize that across an entire nation. They're literally two halves of the same puzzle. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, the mixed methods solution, and how we bridge that gap. Grounded in the rigorous academic work of foundational scholars like Creswell and Bryman, the modern gold standard for social research is simple. You combine them. The guiding principle here is pragmatism. The best researchers don't just stubbornly lock themselves into one single philosophy. They use both methods to fit the exact question, giving them the sweeping scale of numbers and the incredibly rich depth of human context. A huge benefit of this approach is data triangulation. Triangulation just means you're using multiple methods or data sources to build a comprehensive picture and cross-verify everything. You check your giant national survey numbers against your village-level focus groups to make sure your conclusions are rock solid. If the spreadsheet says one thing, but the community is telling you another, well, you know you need to dig a whole lot deeper. So how does this actually work in practice? One way is a sequential design. You might do this sequentially, meaning first, you run a massive survey on tablets across thousands of households. You analyze all that data. Then, once you spot some weird or interesting statistical trends, maybe a sudden drop in enrollment in one specific region, you follow up with targeted qualitative interviews in that exact spot to figure out why the numbers look like that. Or you could flip the script and use a concurrent design. This is where you're gathering your broad survey data out in the village square, while literally at the exact same time, you're hosting an intimate qualitative focus group nearby. You collect it all at once and then merge the findings at the very end. It gives you a highly validated, multidimensional snapshot of the community.
Finally, Section 5, Navigating Field Realities, Applied Research in Pakistan.
Operating in complex, real-world environments, like evaluating a huge national program across diverse provinces, requires an immense amount of cultural sensitivity and trust. Your survey could be mathematically flawless, but if the local community doesn't trust the people asking the questions, your data is basically useless. So community buy-in and local empowerment are honestly just as critical as your sample size. To truly empower locals, evaluators today use some brilliant specialized tools, like the Most Significant Change Method, or MSC. This is a highly participatory, story-based approach. Instead of just ticking boxes on a clipboard, stakeholders actually go out and collect stories of real change directly from the community. Then panels select the most significant ones. It is just an incredible way to capture those unexpected human impacts that rigid numbers completely gloss over. Okay, if you take one thing away from this explainer, make it this golden rule. Match the method to the research question, not the other way around. Whether you're looking at a local health initiative, tracking a national education rollout, or doing field research literally anywhere in the world, let the problem dictate your tools. Use surveys to measure the scale, use interviews to uncover the meaning, and mix them together to find the actual truth. Thank you so much for joining this explainer. I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. When you evaluate your next project, are you only going to count the numbers, or will you actually uncover the story behind them? It's absolutely crucial to ask yourself that before designing your next study. Keep asking the right questions, and we'll see you in the next one.